So a lot of my journey, I was in the mindset of a victim, in the sense of a victim to
Mm.
circumstance, because of, and just kind of side note, one of the chapters in Adaptable is called the flexible plan, because exactly what you said, right? You need a plan, but it needs to be
Yeah,
flexible. Um,
totally.
but
Totally.
after 6 months after my near death experience, I was living in New York City now, working at InStyle magazine, and I was getting sick again. But what I didn't know, it was the onset of an autoimmune disease. And that has
Mm.
been the hardest, most challenging thing I've ever had to deal with, because it's ongoing, it's chronic, it's never ending. Like there's no cure for it. And so for a long period of my 20s, it was just like this autoimmune disease stole my dreams.
Yeah.
But the thing about it is that, just like this pandemic, a lot of students, saw their dreams and their life kind of taken from them. And it's so easy to be victimized by circumstance. But while there's so much that we cannot control, I mean, there's a lot that we can't control.
Yeah.
And when we focus on it, then we deplete our confidence, we deplete our energy, and we take away from the energy we can put towards things we can control. And
Mm.
so what I realize is, like, this autoimmune disease is, yes, it's part of me and I have to accept it. That's not giving up or giving in, but it's acceptance of something
Yeah.
I can't control and saying it's part of me, but it will not define what I can or cannot do. And I had to find a different way. I really had no choice but to make a job, a career work for me as my
Yeah.
own boss, because I have to do a lot of things around my health. I couldn't go into an office because there's days I don't feel well. And
Yeah.
so it's interesting how a lot of different circumstances come your way in a way that can change everything. And you feel like it's just this big block. It's this big, hump that you can't get over. But I always say, be committed to your purpose and less on the path. And if you're committed to your
Mm.
purpose, you could
Love
find
that.
a different path to get there.
Love that. Love that. And I think, so powerful for anybody listening to this. Like, ask yourself, is there anything in your life that you're focusing on that you can't control?
Hmm.
Right? Because it's so true. When you focus on the thing you can't control, it's draining, it's demotivating, it's depressing. I mean, it's everything negative, right? There's
Yes.
nothing good about it. You're like, this sucks, and this sucks some more.
Mhm.
So it's like, if you're listening to this and you're going, well, maybe this thing happened to me because of COVID, or maybe I'm not happy with my job, or like whatever it is. Are there things that you're focusing on that you can't control, and how can you focus on things that you can control? And so let's say we kind of look at your life through that lens. Let's step back on this part of your story. You realize, okay, I can't control the autoimmune disease. It's part of my life. I gotta shape this sort of, like, basically business that's going to support me being able to do what I want to do, because I have this part of my life that I can't control, but I still have a lot of things I want to do with my life. So for you, what did kind of like steps 1, 2, 3 look like as you realized, okay, I can control some things, and let me go take action on that? Because clearly you've taken not just a little bit of action on it, you went and took massive freaking action on it.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't realize, like, I started my business, Women Empower X, like, while I was really sick. I wasn't, I didn't, I wasn't healthy. It wasn't like I waited until I got there. And that's, I guess, the first step, is that I got so sick and tired of waiting for something to change, to do the things I wanted to do, to be the person I wanted to be. And after 8 months goes by, a year goes by, 2 years goes by, you realize, like, this is my new reality. And I always
And
say, you must not wait for your life to
quick
change. You must change your own life. Go ahead.
quick question, just so you give people a little perspective, because I've done my research on you, and I know, like you said, you're about to graduate in this traumatic near-death experience. Can you fill people in a little bit on that, just to give them some perspective, because it was crazy what you went through. And then I just want to give people a little bit more perspective before we go into
Yeah,
this next
definitely.
path, because it was intense what you went through.
So, a few months before graduating college, I wasn't feeling well, and out of nowhere, a bacteria got into my bloodstream and started killing all of my organs, and my body went into septic shock. And I was induced into a medical coma given a 1% chance to live. And I was in a coma for 6 days, in the ICU for 10. And this changed my entire life, from the things that I witnessed, perceived, visualized in the coma and in the ICU, to then, like I mentioned, 6 months later with this autoimmune disease.
Yeah.
So here I am now with trying to get through dealing with post-traumatic stress, and now figuring out how to live with this autoimmune where I couldn't eat anything. I couldn't digest anything. I mean, there was 8 months I couldn't even walk my dog out of my apartment. I was very, very sick. And I remember I kept on asking why this happened to me. Like, why did this have to happen to me? Why can't I just have my near-death experience, that be in my past, I have a cool story, and that's it, right? But now I have to live with this illness that really does affect me. I mean, even days I'm in remission, I'm still affected by it. There's an overarching fear I always live with because it's unpredictable. And I remember one day I just changed one word in this one sentence, and I said, why did this happen for me versus to me? And I think that was such a pivotal moment because it led me on a journey of what I like to call curiosity. Because while I was trying to like really heal myself, both mentally and physically, every book I read, every seminar I went to, every New York Times bestselling author I saw speak, and they were all amazing, but all of them spoke with a very similar pattern. They spoke on what they went through in their past, what they did to overcome it, and here's how people in the audience can do it as well. And if I'm trying to overcome my, past struggles, that could be transformational for me. But here I am sitting in the audience thinking I'm never going to be able to overcome this. And so when people would say, just have hope, I was like, where is the hope when there's no light at the end of the tunnel? And so what I did was, it was very easy to give up. It really was. It was like nothing was working. I went to a million different doctors, Eastern, Western, integrative, holistic, everything under the sun. But at this time, I decided to exchange hope for curiosity. And I became so curious to what may happen if I don't give up, if I try one more thing, if I wake up one more day. And that's the same for anyone listening to this. Like, if you are trying to land a big sponsorship or land a big interview or get your dream career, and you pitch yourself and you get rejection after rejection after rejection, it's like that curiosity really leads me to be so resilient, because I am a true believer that it only takes one person, one decision, one podcast, one book, one mentor that can completely change your life for the better. But you have to be brave enough and resilient enough to go and discover that one. And so that mindset really helped me through my darkest days to keep on going when it was so easy to give up.
Yeah. Yeah. I love how you said change your hope to curiosity. I feel like curiosity is one of the just like most beautiful things. You know what I mean? It's like, obviously sometimes you get too curious and people go, you shouldn't be asking that question or whatever. But someone also told me, and I think if you could partner this with curiosity, it's like ask for forgiveness, not permission. Right. And if you have a genuine authenticity with your curiosity, like if you're curious and you're doing it with like a bad intention, obviously we know where karma is going to come and life will teach you a lesson to get you back on track. But it's like, if you have this genuine, like if you got a good heart, which I think most people do, and especially if they're listening to this, got a good heart. It's like, if you have a good heart and you allow curiosity just to guide you, every time, at least I've applied curiosity to my life, and I still every single day try to, obviously here on the podcast, I'm asking you about your life. But it's like curiosity always leads you to such a beautiful place. And it's also kind of like we were talking about, like the flexible plan. It leads you to a place where sometimes you don't know that you're going to go, but it's exactly where you were meant to be.
I so believe that. And yeah, it all comes down to your intention around things. But I truly believe that things happen for a reason. I have to believe that in order to come to terms, right, with everything. But when you really surrender to the journey And that does not mean you just sit back and do nothing. That means you work hard, right? You
Yeah.
work hard, you give it your all, you dream big, you take action on those dreams, but then you surrender. And the key to that is it's allowing what's meant to be to come in. Because when you resist, there's going to be more suffering. And that's what I was experiencing while I was living in New York City and thinking since I was 10 years old that I wanted to live in New York, work in fashion. And now it's like, I don't know if this is the right dream for me. And I was trying to force my old dreams or my old perception of my life into this new part of me. And that's where the
Damn, so
suffering.
true.
Yeah.